Hi, my name is Stephen Tronichek, and I'm with HorrorOrigins.com. Horror Origins is a website where you can find articles, reviews, and interviews. We also run our very own film festival and screenplay competition. Today, I'm talking to Marjorie DeHay, the writer and director of Bottle Monster. Thank you for being here, Marjorie.
Thanks, Stephen, so much. And thanks to Horror Origins. I absolutely love you guys. You're fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much. We're happy that you like us. So, I like to start these interviews with the question of what got you into the horror genre. It's just a great baseline.
And I think it's a great question. I think I was actually born in Salem, Massachusetts. So as you know, there's a lot of folklore, et cetera, surrounding Salem. So I grew up hearing about witches, reading ghost stories. So I have to say that I had a love of horror from a young age. And I really loved Ripley's Believe It or Not, because I feel like sometimes real life is scarier than things you make up in your head.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Um, yeah, it's just it's horror has such a good it's so good at reaching out to reality and like bringing that in and making such a fun cathartic experience. Oh, whoops. Speaking of Salem, I was just thinking it made me think of Paranorman.
You have been arraigned for the horrible crime of witchcraft.
I think it's just an excellent film about Salem, and just an excellent film about how horror is related to Salem. Just really interesting a really interesting twist on horror stuff going on there. But so Bottle Monster is it's quite interesting. It covers themes of neglect and alcoholism. So what are your opinions on the abilities of horror to capture these real world hardships?
Well, I think horror has become a genre where it can really start to capture what is going on in real life. Because if you've been around an alcoholic, if you've been around anybody who has an addiction, and if you're a small child, there's a lot of horror in that you don't quite realize until you get older. Like, how did that affect me? Why do I make these choices? Et cetera. And I think there's a lot of ways that horror can explore these themes and then kind of just create that own, like, your personal demons kind of come to life. And that's kind of what Bottle Monster is all these demons coming to life. What would the manifestation of her inner demons really look like?
Right. It is rather interesting where you have this very straightforward addiction story playing next to the supernatural story. So being a filmmaker myself, I like set stories. Set stories are awesome, especially on lower budget films, because just the craziest stuff ends up happening. So what is the best set story you can think of from Bottle Monster?
Well, I have to say it was fun to have a lot of really talented people on the set, because like Will Ames is just hilarious. And we had Bob Chandanan and Wayne Wilderson on set. And those are two very well-known comedians. And so during filming their scene together, they kind of come in at the end and they're kind of riffing. And we were like, hey, we're just going to run the camera. They've always wanted to work with each other. For some reason, in both of their long Hollywood careers, they never got to work with each other. So they just kind of riffed. And we were on the ground rolling. Some of it we use, like, there's a line that Bob says, we're about like this like horrible, scary place reminds him of his childhood, but he says it in such a way that you're like, only he could, as a comedian, really get away with it. So really just having those comedians on set was so much fun.
Yeah. I think it's always lovely to whenever you find stuff on set. I think just it just brings real life to the movie, I think, and definitely gets you really far there. So you're working with a child on this film, and you know, child actors are a whole different ball game comparatively to adult actors. What are your recommendations for working with child actors, and how did you go about that?
Um, I actually have worked with child actors before. I worked with on a project, it was like 12 year olds, and it was like maybe 11 to 12. And then our actor on this was 7. So what you start to realize is your scheduling becomes a lot different, because you're limited in hours, you're limited in times, and then you're also limited. I know we were ready to film one scene and he just fell asleep. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to let them sleep. We're going to go film something else and just come back, because it's tiring. Everybody thinks sets are exciting, but really there's a lot of setup, as you know, as a filmmaker, a lot of prep, and then you get the fun stuff, which lasts like a couple minutes, and then you're back to prep. And so I think we had a great person who was entertaining. Like, we had somebody watching, and then, we had some great studio teachers too, which is, they were really wonderful. So I think it's like surrounding the children with great people and really making sure they understand the whole process. And I think that's one of the key things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Another thing that you're working with on this film is this visual effect for the creature, which I won't, give away too much yourself. But I actually wanted to ask about, how you went about implementing the visual effect on set, and how it kind of, just kind of made its way into the film, and how the process of it.
It's a great question, because I knew what the creature wanted to be, and the creature is actually based on a real life creature, which is kind of terrifying. And the creature is actually trending on social media right now as an acid spitting lobster. So that's about as much as I'll give away on that one. But we went to a bunch of special effects, and they're like, it's really hard to create this kind. It's really hard. So we were like, well, it's a real creature, so let's find somebody who handles arachnids. So we found this amazing arachnid handler, Diana Terranova. She's incredible. She does probably every bug effect you see. And so we shot with real life creatures.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool. I mean, oh man, you must have had to prepare the actors or prepare specific crew members, because like half the people that I know are just like not okay with spiders and stuff like that, and half the people I know just don't care. And it's like,
Yeah.
must have been a difficult situation. So you wrote Bottle Monster as well as directing it. And I write a lot too, and I know a lot of writers, and everybody has a different process to get where they're going and how a script develops, more or less. And I just wanted to ask about how you developed the screenplay and how that process unfolded.
Yeah, that's always, as you say, everybody has their process. Everybody's so different. I had written a few other screenplays that I was going to do before this, but sometimes everything kind of aligns where you're like, okay, well, this all started with actually a friend of mine who showed me a picture of this terrifying creature. And she's like, oh, that's real. And then I was like, whoa, that would be a great creature. And so that started. So actually I wrote the screenplay in probably about 3 months. So it was one of the quicker ones that I wrote, but we knew who our lead actor was. We knew who we were going to bring in. So it was everything. And then we found this great house, which is the historic Harris House. Owner was great for filming, and it had a lot of creepy, like all those sets, like we didn't have to design them because the house itself is kind of a character in this.
Yeah, the house had it's a real find. I always love this idea of those like kind of found elements that end up in movies, and sets are just fantastic. Like it's a great set, great house. I love the basement. It's so fun. So I typically like to end these interviews with a very simple question, which is, if you could think of any horror film off the top of your head that you'd recommend to the audience, what would it be? Just don't even think about it. Just what would it be?
See, that's easy for me because I'm such an old school Evil Dead.
Die? You're not gonna leave me here, are you? Are you ass?
That's one of those original, I feel like created the whole genre of lower budget films, and and just became this huge franchise. But if you read the story in the background of everything they went through to get this done, you're like, yes, I understand. You understand, filmmakers understand.
Right. Just like being the only guy left at the end of that. That's just it's a crazy story. It's just, oh gosh. And but it shows. It's a wonderfully intuitive movie. Like just making stuff up. And yeah, I love the spirit. I love the spirit of the film. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's classic. It's fantastic.
Classic. Yeah. All right. Well, before we finish up, where can people find you on social media, or where can people find the film on social media and stuff like that?
Sure. We're on Facebook at Bottle Monster, and then on Twitter, it's at Bottle Monster without the last E because of characters. And then we're releasing on Amazon, Tubi, Dish, Rogers, Ubiquity. we're releasing on a bunch of platforms tomorrow, so we're really excited about that.
All right, excellent, excellent. So just as a reminder, I've been Stephen Thronichek for HorrorOrigins.com. Horror Origins is a website where you can find articles, reviews, and interviews. And we also run our very own film festival and screenplay competition. This has been Marjorie DeHay. Thank you so much for speaking.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and looking forward to seeing all your films. And really,
thank you.
We're all about collaboration.
Yeah, it's really, I do feel like as filmmakers, you just gotta support each other and stick out and just, yeah, make it work. All right. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much. Take care.